Hi guys, it's Lynn here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now today guys, in this video I'm going to show you what you can do if you have a very shriveled cactus. And I've always been asked this question. People say, Lynn, my cactus is shrivelling and I'm watering it, I don't know what I'm doing wrong and everything else. Now it's very difficult to give an answer to what could be wrong because there's many different factors. It could depend on what type of soil you're using. It could depend what type of cactus you've got. It can depend on the time of year, and it can depend on the temperature, the amount of water, the type of water, the type of soil, and it can go on and on and on and on. And I often think that I like to actually share things when I've actually got an example to show you. And I usually, the number one thing I usually say, look, if you're watering your plant and it's the time of year where it's actively growing and it's still shrivelling and there's no signs of visible pests on the leaves, or as in a cactus, its actual cactus body, then it's usually down to the root system. And things that are going on in the roots you cannot see because obviously they're going on inside the pot. And by the way, with a lot of pests, a lot of them are so tiny, as in insect pests, that sometimes people look at a plant and go, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't see any flies on it or any green fly, mealybug or anything. There's a lot of pests that are very microscopic that can pierce, for example, spider mite that pierces your plant. So you can't visibly see it, but the plant will start to shrivel. And then the damage usually shows a month or two down the line as like a big brown scar all over it. And some pests that is so tiny, you cannot see, no matter how good your eyesight is. But if you really are sure there's nothing going on the outside, I always think that it has to be going on with the root system. Now, plants, it's common, especially for cacti, to actually do shrivel during the winter. And I'm going to show you this example because this is what's happening with one of my puncher plants here. It's shrivelling, and I'm not sure why, because it's been watered. It is coming up to its winter dormancy, but it's still early fall, autumn, so the punchers are all actively growing, but it's showing signs of being shriveled, and I'm not sure why. It doesn't need to be repotted. And I've gone through it with a tiny microscopic loop, and there's no signs of any insects at all on it, so I know that there's no insect damage on the stems for it to be shrivelling. So there's something going on with the root system here. But as I say, it is normal for particular types of cacti and succulents, particularly a puncher is a good example, for them to actually shrivel during the winter dormancy. And that's a good thing because that's how they're using their water stores in their body to get through the winter. And when they're dormant, they should be using very little water at all. So this is a good way of how they actually get winter hardy, because the less water they have, the more lower temperatures they can take. This particular puncher here, a puncher polycantha, this is a puncher polycantha for variety Juniperina Ottingen. It's a cold hardy one, so it's normal for it to shrivel like that. But it's not normal for it to really shrivel in the autumn time. This would be more like you'd expect sort of late winter. Before spring, and then you give it water, fatten up and then come out into growth again. So there's something going on with this. And as I say, when people ask me why is my cactus shriveling and there's no visible signs of pests, that's what you want to check first of all. No hidden pests, as in this case with a puncher, mealybug is the number one with a puncher. Mealybug, it just seems to attract it like a magnet with the punchers, and they go in between the little joins there and you don't see them, and because of the little joins hide the mealybug, that's where they suck and the stems will shrivel. But I've gone through it with a microscope and there's no bugs, I can guarantee you that. So there's something going on with the root system. And by the way, it's possible, if I check the roots and the roots are perfectly healthy, then it could just be the plant is going a little bit dormant, a bit early in the year, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes this happens, and if that's the case, I'll just pot it up again, put it away, and see how it goes in the spring. But I just want to check it's okay. And this video, sorry for, I tend to go a long way about things, but I really want to stress that you understand what I'm saying here. It's always when you have a shriveled cactus and there's no visible signs on the top, you have to get it out to check what's going on with the root system. I'm expecting there's something going on with the roots. Either the roots have died back, or God forbid, I hope not, it's got root mealybug. But if it has, I can share a video on how to treat that. So either way, it's going to be positive. But there's also a possibility there's nothing wrong. So let's go and see, guys. I just want to explain what I'm going to be doing in this video. And I'm going to turn it down so you can see what I'm going to be doing. Now then, guys, as I say, I'm using this plant as a perfect example, because this is actually shrivelling at the moment. And the good thing is with a puncher is that if the roots were all dead and or the main part of the plant here, the main growing pad has rotted, then I've got plenty more cuttings here. A puncher roots extremely well. I could just cut all these joins off here, let them callus over, probably over the winter even, and then pop them up in the spring and they'll root like lightning. A puncher is like a weed in some parts of the world, so no problem there. This plant is 100% savable. So I'm quite confident whatever's happening with the roots, it's not a problem. It's normal for punchers to die, old pads to dry up like that and fall off. It's just part of the natural growing process, and even that's half dry and that's half green. Again, that's normal with the punchers, not a problem. So I'm not worried about that. So I'm just concerned why it is shrivelling up this early in the year, when it has been doing good all summer until recently. Now, when it comes to handling, getting plant cacti out the pots, obviously, common sense, I would not use gloves with this type of cactus because a puncher has glow kids, and it's just your gloves will be covered. And I've even seen really stupid videos of people repotting using bubble wrap with a puncher. Oh my God, it's the worst thing you can do. You do not use bubble wrap with a puncher because it would just be covered in all the glow kids, and bubble wrap would just pop, 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 bang, 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 bang. It'd be like a fireworks display going off in the background. The noise anyway. So I always find a good tip is forget gloves. Certain type of cacti you can use gloves really well, but not with a puncher. You want to use cardboard because there's no way that the glow kids are going to come off. And in this case, rip it in this cardboard that you can bend. And this is just literally, I'm going to use this to squeeze it out. I'm probably not going to touch this as less as possible. I prefer not to use gloves. I know I'm crazy, but I just can't stand using gloves because it just restricts me. Cardboard is better and they're not going to be covered in glow kids. So gently get the cactus out, see what's going on, squeezing this out. Oh, well there you go. As I say, you want to check the root system. I have to say, the plant looks pretty good. The roots are fine. But of course I can't tell just by looking at that though. I was expecting to see the roots were all rotten or something, but looking at this here, nope. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this plant. Now I'm just going to get a little tiny little spoon or something to separate this, because although it looks pretty good, now there's no sign of root mealybug. Root mealybug always, when you take a pot plant out of its pot with root mealybug, you'll see white deposits all inside. Well, personally, thank goodness I've not had root mealybug for years, but in the past I have. It's always been in there. There's no signs of it in there, no signs of it either on here. And as I say, you will always see it on the outside. But again, this is pretty good. There's no sign of rot there. This plant is hard there, so perfectly green. But I still want to gently tease these roots because I want to see that there isn't any hidden pests. So as I say, you just want to check the root system to check there's nothing going on with this. Good soil as well, so it's well drained. Nope, this is pretty good. I really don't think there's a problem here. Now, as I say, this is actually a plant that we bought early on in the year from it's Ulick actually. Ulick, they're great if you want to order online. A German company, very, very good plants. And it's possibly just down to changing growing conditions, but they grow their plants hard. And the roots are pretty good. I can't see a problem there. And it is, I have to say, it is too late in the year for me to properly repot. Now the roots have come away quite easy there. Look, this by the way is quite normal with plants when they're going into their dormancy. Dry roots just come away. With this particular plant here, I'm just going to loosen it up and take some of the lower roots. I'm going to be potting it back into 100% dry soil, and I'm going to let this overwinter here in the polytunnel, and then in the spring I'm going to give it a complete repot. I'm going to loosen all the roots, put it into 100% fresh soil, and then I'm going to treat it then as I normally would to get it back into growth. It's just too late in the year now for me to be starting this up again. In other words, planting it up and then leaving it for a few days, then watering it to bring it back into growth. It's going to be overwintered in the polytunnel. Dry roots of cacti often come away like that, but that is normal. The plants, they often do this. There's not an issue. There's no signs of bugs. I think that the plant has probably come into a bit of an early dormancy, and that's really all it is. As I say, normal for it to have dry pads there. What I might do is possibly propagate, I may sort of the wrong time of year again, so I might leave these. I was thinking of maybe taking a couple of the pads off and maybe starting them off as cuttings upstairs in the grow room under the lights, which I could do, but as I say, not going to hurt shrivelling like that anyway. I may just pop this back into its pot, and then what I'm going to be doing is just keeping it in the polytunnel for the winter and then repotting it properly in the spring, where I'm able to give it a bit more water and stuff like that, because it's better. The less I do at this time of year, the better. But the good news is there's no problem, no sign of rot either, and that's pretty good. As I say, that's all you really need to do when you check. Now, if you, as say, you get your plant out and it's still shrivelling and there's no signs of obvious bugs, as I want to make sure, I'm just pulling this away here because I need to make sure there's nothing going on with the neck of the plant, because I don't want to, I think I'm pretty confident the roots are good. I just want to check the neck of the plant isn't rotting. As I say, no signs of rot visibly here, but I just want to double check here. And this is all I can say to people who say, why is my cactus shrivelling? Now, sometimes people get back to me and say, no, I've repotted it, I've got it out, nothing wrong with the root system, blah, 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 blah. Then I would say, pot it back up again, keep the plant dry, and gently introduce water. If it's the summer months, spring or summer, gently introduce water slowly. And they nearly always get back to me saying, my plant's recovered. It just needed, it's just one of them things. Sometimes plants do that. But no, I mean, that's hard, no problem here. So there you go. And I just wanted to share with you what to do. Now, if you do happen to, your plant is shrivelling, you get it out of the pot and you find that unfortunately it has got root mealybug or anything like that, then you will have to treat it. Remove every scrap bit of soil off. In fact, I'd even recommend this type of plant probably treating it again completely as a cutting and get rid of all the old roots with the bugs on. And again, you treat it as a cutting. But if otherwise you want to keep the roots aren't too bad, remove all the soil, and then you want to soak it in a insecticide and then pot it up and keep it dry, and then introduce water slowly if it's the spring and summer, or keep dry over the winter. But I will probably wait till I'm in that position to ever make a video like that, because it's just too difficult to explain in a video. I'm more of a visual person. But that's the good news, so that's all I need to do. So now I'm just going to be potting this back. I'll get some fresh soil in the bottom and putting this in, and then keeping it dry over the winter. Now guys, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using as a soil mix. Here I have got, oops, it's a loam-based soil here, which is a John Innes loam-based #2, and I've mixed a bit of horticultural sand and just a small amount of perlite, because this particular type of puncher can take a bit more moisture than a lot of the other ones. So I've just added extra horticultural sand and a small amount of perlite with the loam, and then we're putting a little bit in here. And as I say, this is going to be kept completely dry now, this plant, over the autumn, and definitely all over the winter. And putting that back in, and I'm actually going to repot this when I say properly, it's not that I'm not doing it properly now, but I probably put it into a bit of a bigger pot and slightly introduce it to a bit more water over the spring and summer next year in 2019. But it's just not the time of year. I don't particularly like to be repotting plants at this, cacti anyway, at this time of year when they are going into their dormancy. But as in this case, sometimes you have to when you're worrying about what's going on with the root system. Now just gently place that in, and keeping this pretty dry, as I say, and then around the sides here. And that's really all you have to do. Should you have a plant that shrivels, really basically the whole point of this video is just to get it out of its pot and find out what's going on with it. They're nearly always, when you get a plant shriveling at the top, there usually is something going on with the roots. But as in this case, punchers do grow like this, so this is probably just doing what this plant's meant to be doing, and it's probably going to be a bit of an earlier dormancy. I think we had an extremely hot summer for Ireland, and we couldn't keep up with the watering, even with the cacti, and it may have got a little bit too dry, and that may be what's happened. But other than that, it's a healthy plant. Other than that, it's how they look when you see them. And as I say, this is the best advice I can give you. And if you do check your plants out, they're shrivelling, and as in this case with this one, there's nothing wrong with the roots or the stems, then great, pot it back up again and just possibly just see if it will recuperate. Now what you can do is spray it with a bit of rainwater if you want to keep the stems humidified, but in this case this is going to be kept totally dry. And that's pretty much it then, guys. So there you go, just sharing my experiences with you. That's the best thing I can do on this channel. So I hope you found the video useful, and I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of cactus and plant power. As always, look across the Emerald Isle, and until the next video, bye.